Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? As usual on Thursday, I'm your host, Richie T, also known as Richard T, coming at you live with some legacy action today. That's right, I had given you guys a poll. Originally, I was going to play Legacy, but then I couldn't quite rent the deck. But then I made a post about a new deck, but then Kenta, who was so graceful to loan me 3 Wrenn and Sixes, so that way I could play this deck, offered that to me. And then I decided to, since I've posted 2 decks already, give it up to you guys to decide what deck I was going to play. And you guys undoubtedly decided, it wasn't even close, that I would be playing NBC, also known as No Bad Cards Temur Delver today. So this is a little different than the Temur Delver deck that I played before for you guys, so I'm going to go over it. The mana base is pretty similar, except there's an extra land. We have our 8 fetches, as usual, our 6 dual lands and 3 trops, 3 Volks, and our 4 wastelands. But then we have a Waterlogged Grove as a land that can just draw you cards with Wrenn and Six, and really helps grind out your opponents a lot more. It did involve going up to 19 lands because you really can't cut any of these 18, though. For card draw, we have our, obviously, it wouldn't be Legacy if we didn't play 4 Brainstorms in our blue deck. We got 4 Ponders to also add a little more consistency. A Preordain for a little extra consistency, plus a card that goes really well with Dreadhorde. And then a Crop Rotation, which you're probably wondering why this is in the deck. We'll get to a little more why it's actually in here, which is for sideboard cards. But in the main, it's a way to tutor up our Waterlogged Grove or Wasteland, depending on which we need, or even potentially just blank our opponent's Wasteland. And it combos really well with Wrenn and Six when we find our Waterlogged Grove that way. So it's essentially like a second Waterlogged Grove in the main, or a second copy of any land we may need. For removal spells, this time we're on 4 Bolt and 1 Chain Lightning because of Dreadhorde Arcanist. For counter spells, we obviously have our 4 Forces, our 4 Days. But this time I split up the Spell Pierce, Spell Snare, and put the Force of Negation in the main to make room for a little extra sideboard slots. And our threats, there's no Goose today, unfortunately. No Goose and no Stifle is really what separates this from traditional Temur Delver, and I'm interested to see how I prefer it and how it plays compared to the other Temur deck that I had played. We have our 4 Delver of Secrets, as per usual. This is on 4 Tarmogoyfs, where before we were only on 3, but we are a little bit more of a grindy deck, as we also have 3 Wrenn and Sixes as opposed to 2, hence why the Waterlogged Grove and the Crop Rotation end up fitting in. We still have our 2 True Names, but then we also have 2 Dreadhorde Arcanists as some extra threats. Try to, draw some extra cards off our cantrips, cast our removal spells a few extra times, and just really help grind out our opponent even that much more. Well, that's the main deck. Moving on to the sideboard, we have a couple of extra removal spells and a Vapor Snag to deal with Merit Lage, a Submerge to also deal with Merit Lage. I thought about it after. I'm not 100% sure if the Submerge should be here, but I'm not sure what it should be instead, as it doesn't really work with Dreadhorde Arcanist. That's the reason we actually have the Vapor Snag. But I'm fine trying the one of Submerge still, and we'll see if it should maybe just be something else. Although, again, I'm not totally sure what I would make it. Maybe like an Engineered Explosives, a lot of people were saying might be good in this deck, since we technically can have 5 color lands for that. We have a Rough and Tumble for dealing with small creatures, a Hydroblast for countering things like Wrenn and Six or Lightning Bolts, a Pyroblast and a Red Elemental Blast, which are basically the same card. They counter blue spells and destroy blue permanents, mainly for things like True Name Nemesis and Delver, but also for winning over Counter Wars. 2 Ancient Grudges and a Null Rod for our Artifact hate, and only 2 Surgicals for our Graveyard hate, except we have a Bojuka Bog in the sideboard also, which you're probably looking at and going, why the heck is this Temur deck playing a Bojuka Bog? Well, when we go back to the Crop Rotation that's in the main, and the fact that we play a second in the sideboard, it's actually our best answers to Reanimator / Hogak style decks, is to play 1 to 2 copies of Crop Rotation in your 75, and then have a Bojuka Bog and or a Karakas in your sideboard for when you want those matchups, as typically you either won't need the Waterlogged Grove, you might not need Wasteland, or maybe you can even trim a fetch if you want to get these in, and have a combo to go with Crop Rotation. And then I'm trying Narset instead of Sylvan Library, as we have the extra land, and Narset's also just really powerful in Legacy, but so is Sylvan Library, so we'll see which we end up preferring. So that's the deck, but before we get onto the games, as per usual, we gotta hop over to momsbasementgames.tcgplayerpro.com and tell you guys the reasons why you need to shop there. For one, Mom's Basement Games has all the cards you may need. If you need any Snowlands for any format at this point, Pauper, Modern, Legacy, all these formats are now abusing Astrolabe. So go ahead and try to get your Snowlands there. If you're watching on YouTube in the future, check down in that description box below for all the links that I'm going to talk about, but also try to tune in live on our Twitch sometimes. I'd really appreciate it. For everyone watching live on Twitch right now and on YouTube in the future, thank you, but try to check us out on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at MomsBasementMTG. For everyone watching on Twitch right now, check out our YouTube channel at some point for the best Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, and Pauper content. On top of that, I would super appreciate it if you gave me a follow on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @RichardTMTG. I talk Magic, League of Legends, TFT, memes, anything else you want to talk about, hit me up there. I have a special shout out this week, as I want to shout out Kenta, which is @Kentaro Hokori. I want to thank him for loaning me Wrenn and Sixes so that way I can bring you this Legacy content today. So make sure you give Kenta a follow on Twitter. And if you want to find us on any other forms of social media, you can find Mom's Basement Games on Instagram @MomsBasementGames, or you can find me on Instagram @RichieT2196. But I think that's enough talking for now. What do you say we just hop right on back into that Legacy League? Get our games going. Typically, I prefer my Delver decks to be slanted a little more aggressive. That's why I was always partial to blue-red for so long. So it's going to be interesting to see how I feel about playing more of a mid-rangey shell of Temur. Alright, we lost the die roll, unfortunately. Still give our opponent the GLHF. And, So if we're facing a combo deck, this hand is pretty lackluster. But if we're facing anything else, this hand's really good. We have some early cantrips. We have Wrenn and Six to help get everything going. And we got Tarmogoyf as a good threat. So I think I'm going to keep this hand. You really can't mulligan for, like, counter spells. Looks like Depths. So this will be a match where it's super helpful to have the crop rotation package in the sideboard, as Caracas is super strong against them. They go ahead and name Force of Will, and they'll see that they whiff. We'll see how much further they go. They could also be Reanimator, but Urborg typically isn't seen in that. Ooh, that's a good draw. So we're going to go ahead and I think we're just going to fetch ourselves a red source here. Go grab a volcanic island and then cast one of these ponders. So we find Wasteland, Crop Rotation, Brainstorm. I kind of want the Wasteland as it's a good way to disrupt their combo. And the Brainstorm is okay since we have Wrenn and Six. But I think we're going to stack it so that way we draw the Crop Rotation. And then we'll draw the Wasteland next turn. We have Force held up with Ponder. And this is essentially just going to be another Wasteland eventually, if we're not just dead here. Okay. Well, if they don't go for it now, we can draw Wasteland. Okay, the opponent's seen it. Unfortunately, we didn't lead on this waterlogged grove. Otherwise, we could have gotten our opponent with crop rotation, but yep, we're just going to be dead now. Unfortunate. I wonder if the crop rotation in the main is reasoning enough to have led on the waterlogged grove. It's both, though. It's Temur and Rug. It's a Temur Rug if you'd prefer. Alright, so against Depths, I don't really think we want the Bajuka Bog, but we do want the Caracas. And I don't think we really want the Waterlogged Grove that much, as we're not really going to have time to grind our opponent out. So I think those are the lands we can trim pretty easily. Hydroblast doesn't do a whole lot here. Our counter spells are actually really good, so are surgicals. Our bolts are a little weak, but we'll see what else we have to cut. We definitely don't want these Hydro or these Pyroblasts. Norod is interesting against them, but all in all, I think that it's also fine to take out. Same with Ancient Grudge. They don't really draw cards, so we'll take out Narset. They're not a small creature deck, and this is where we're at right now. So what are the next cuts? I think I kind of just want to like take out all of our lightning bolts, but I feel like we might need Bolt to just help kill them. Maybe a couple bolts are better than some true names. What do you think, Thrump? What does everyone in chat think about just taking out all the bolts against depths? Do you think we should leave some in? Do you think they might be better than true names? But I am a legacy player, and I like to call it Temur. It just like it just sounds more. It sounds more. It just like sounds better in my opinion, because Temur is like. Temur has a reasoning for where it came from, other than like just the color combination. You need them for reclaimers. That's fair. So how many bolts do you think we want against them? I can definitely see taking out the true names for them. Do you think we want more than 2 lightning bolts? I could see trimming the Preordain for a bolt also. And unfortunately do not have enough time to figure out the rest. But we have 3 bolts in here at least. I could see wanting more. Yeah, this hand's great. We have Force, we have a Delver, we have a Daze, we have a Crop Rotation to get our Karakas. This is just about everything we'd want. Our opponent also kept their 7. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves a Tropical Island and cast ourselves a Delverino on 1. Then just ship it back to our opponent. Most likely dazing any of their discard they play on turn 1. Yep. Go ahead and just daze that Thoughtseize, get it out of here. And our opponent's going to pass it back to us. What will be on top? I would like to flip Delver of Secrets to Surgical Extraction. Thank you. So, I don't think we want to brainstorm aggressively here. I think if our opponent passes the turn back to us, we'll probably brainstorm end of turn, even though I know that's like a forbidden sin. We kind of want 2 mana to be able to play it well. We really want to hit a land drop, but maybe we can wait since we wouldn't be playing Tarmogoyf either. Alright, that's the Urborg. I think we're just going to go ahead and force this Thoughtseize. It feels really bad to lose the Brainstorm there, but I want to leave up every chance to disrupt this combo. And the further we can get our opponent to go into it, the better. Okay, well, now they're kind of forcing our hand here. We're going to cast Crop Rotation. And I think we're actually just going to grab a Wasteland. Then Wasteland their Dark Depths. And then we're going to go ahead and Surgical the Depths. And then get those depths on out of here. So this should put us in a really good position, even though we have no lands and only one card in hand. So our opponent has an Urborg, a Therapy, a Crop Rotation, and a Safekeeper. Come on. Thank you. So what do they got in their main here? So how do they kill us now? They need Reclaimers. They are the Hogak deck. Okay. So Reclaimers and Hogaks are how they could potentially kill us. But they're pretty far off from those now, as they don't actually have a second land or a green source. So yep, now your Needle can resolve opponent. I feel like some people like name kids after older things, but I understand what you're saying. I just think Temur rolls off the tongue better. Although I do mix and match. I bounce between calling it Temur and Rug. Yep, your Cabal Therapy resolves. Oh, that's right. Surgical doesn't save cards in hand. That's dumb. Well, we know they have an Urborg in hand, do you remember their hand? I know it was Urborg. Man, I can't remember the other cards now. Urborg, Safekeeper, and I can't quite remember the last two. I feel like Cabal Therapy was one of it. Nobody names their kid 10 years after it was already created. Oh, okay. I misread what you meant. I thought you were saying, like, nobody names their kid after something super old. And I was like, I feel like some people have probably named their kid after, like, a famous person from history. But now I get what you're saying. I just misinterpreted what you were saying. You literally meant, like, nobody names their kid again after they already, like, name it once. But the thing is like, Wizards wasn't the ones that officially named it Rug. And Wizards is the ones that came up with Temur. So if you think about it, wasn't that when the parents named it? If we're using that logic. Alright, so our opponent not having green mana seems to be where their downfall came this game. Uh-oh. Maybe I spoke too soon. Although I'm not quite sure what they could have to deal with our Delver. We shall see. If you're not already a follower, Thrump, by the way, feel free to give us a follow. We do giveaways each month. And if you're a follower, you're automatically entered into the giveaway. And then you can earn extra entries by being a subscriber or a donator to our Patreon. We don't currently have we're not sure what we're giving away this month yet, but we are definitely doing a giveaway at some point this month. So you were mentioning we probably want lightning bolts, and I can definitely see it. Seeing the Hogaks kind of make me want this Bajuka Bog also. So I think we can bring in the Bog and then take out probably... Do you think we can take out a fetch land for a Bog? Or do you think that's just kind of like greedy? Where's our Caracas at? Am I just overlooking it? 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, wait. Oh. I took out the Caracas, that's why. Whoops. So we thought about bolts, and we kind of seen a couple things we may want bolts for, but I'm not sure what's worse than bolt at this point. And do you think we can trim a fetch land? Because I could see trimming a fetch and then putting in the Bojuka Bog now that we've seen that they're also on the Hogak package. Don't really think we'd want anything else, though. What do you guys think about this? Or do you think it's just too many lands that, like, don't do anything? Karakas does also deal with Hogak, so maybe Bojuka Bog is just, like, too cute for that. Yeah, I don't think we're going to bring in the Bog. The Bog, honestly, might not even be right for the sideboard, because Karakas just deals with Hogak just as well. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and try it like this. Okay. So we have a force, but we have to pitch our only cantrip. We have a bolt, which could be disruption. Our opponent mulligans. And we have Tarmogoyf Dreadhorde in hand. I think this is the hand that we keep. Although I could very well be convinced that I'm supposed to mulligan this. Interestingly enough, our opponent didn't have Stitcher's Suppliers unless I just overlooked them. Our opponent's trying to figure out if their hand works and if it works well enough for them. Seem to be in the tank pretty hard about their 6, so must be kind of awkward. Might be like half a Hogak hand, half a... Yep. I think no matter what, we're probably not going to counter their discard spell, because I really want to cast this Ponder. And if they choose to take the Ponder, that's fine. I mean, it's kind of awkward, but it's fine. Force of Will's typically their take, but interesting. They take the Arcanist. Well, we will rock you. We're going to just go ahead and get a Trop here. And then cast Ponder. Ooh, okay. This file's pretty good. I think we're going to go... We're going to grab the Daze, and then we'll have the Wasteland for next turn. And now we have just like a bunch of counter spell protection. Urborg for land for turn. And Cabal Therapy from our opponent. So I think they're going to definitely just name this Force of Will. So I'm going to let it happen as opposed to 2 for 1-ing myself. Our hand's pretty redundant at this point, so there's no reason to 2 for 1 myself on something my opponent's just going to get 1 card out of. It's pretty unlikely that they would have named Tarmogoyf or Lightning Bolt, so... And I don't even particularly care if they would have named Bolt. It would have stunk a little if they named Goyf, though. So on our turn, we have a couple options. I think I just want to play it safe against them. Although we could get a clock down in Goyf. I think I want to just make sure we don't die. Yeah. We're just going to take it a little easy. I do kind of wish we had a Vulcan play because I would just bolt my opponent. Yeah, they knew I had the Force of Will too. So I know we're bolting the Reclaimer, but I think we're fine with this Dryad Arbor for now. Awkwardly enough, bolting the Reclaimer means we can't really play Goyf. But I think we just got to get that off the battlefield. One, two, three, four. So they're still a little ways off from Hogacking us. So I'm fine just, I'm fine leaving them with the Dryad Arbor. I just don't want to die to the combo. Reclaimer's just such a powerful card for these decks. I've even seen some Elves list playing Reclaimer to get Gaia's Cradle, and then also just playing like a Dark Depths and a Stage because they can. I don't know if that's actually correct, but maybe this was reasoning to have wastelanded the Dryad Arbor. I didn't quite think about the flashback on Cabal Therapy. It's actually pretty awkward for us. I could have even seen actually Force of Negationing this. Well, I guess they'll take Force of Negation, so it's cool that we didn't cast it. Hopefully we don't get depthed with crop rotation up here. Although I guess that doesn't actually work. Because if they go depths, Hexmage, sack, they don't have anything to turn the land into a 20/20. Not this turn, at least. Alright, and back to us. So for our turn, I think we're going to hold on to these lands as we don't really need to play them, and I want to get this Tarmogoyf down. If we draw a Brainstorm, we can always Brainstorm to put these lands back into our deck. Well, that's kind of unfortunate. So now we're just kind of in a staring contest until one of us draws something. That's really annoying. Yep. Hopefully the last card in hand isn't Dark Depths. Because if it is, we're kind of just boned. Alright, let's go ahead and cast Ponder. Wrenn and Six isn't bad. The Spell Snare's a little late. The Brainstorm is good. You think I was supposed to daze the Hex Mage? They have the Bayou up still. I'm thinking we go Wrenn and Six, Brainstorm, Spell Snare. Play the Wrenn and Six, get back a fetch land. Oh no, we can ping the Hex Mage. Okay, so this pile is actually great. I forgot about the other mode on Wrenn and Six. Green, Wrenn and Six. And this should just about lock the game up, honestly. We get to ping the Hex Mage, and then we just get to start wastelanding them every turn. Alright. Down goes the Hex Mage. See, Wrenn and Six, I think, is a card that's fine. Like, I think the card is, if it's in a deck, it will always be a 2 to 3 of. I think in a lot of decks, though, people are playing 4 that it should probably only be 3. Especially, that's more in Modern. Yeah, exactly. Ping Hex Mage, then Wasteland lock. In Modern, a lot of people play 4 Wrenn and Six, and I think it's probably correct to just play 3. In Legacy, I think it's a lot more reasonable if you want to play 4. Our opponent said punt, so I'm curious what it was. I don't know if they're talking about me or them. Because Crop Rot doesn't get them out of this. Oh. So my opponent mentioned that they could have sacked the Hex Mage to kill the Wrenn and Six. And that's actually like... Yeah, that's exactly what my opponent was talking about when they said punt. I didn't even think about that. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and attempt to wasteland. Do you think we hit the stage or the bayou? Probably the bayou, because we can't actually hit the stage because it can become a basic. So I think we're supposed to hit the bayou. Ooh, does our opponent have the crop rotation? Just like an abrupt decay on Wrenn. No, it is the crop rot. I was actually kind of worried about this because we might lose here. Yikes. Yeah, I think wastelanding there might have actually been a punt. Yeah, I think the crop rotation was literally the only thing that punishes us for this play. And if we can get them off green... Oh, that feels so bad. They had the mana to play around days, too. GG's, opponent. That was like the one thing I was worried about, but... Man. If we don't wasteland there and we get back flooded strand, I think we like probably pretty easily could win that game. That's like the one card that literally won them the game is all. Oh well, we'll bounce back. We starting out 0-1 though. Not preferable in a situation where we could have been 1-0, but that I don't know. That was just so bad. I'm sorry, chat. Literally, if I don't make that play, I don't think there's any way we can lose that game. Outside of them, like, drawing another Hex Mage before we draw literally anything. So how is everyone else doing in chat? How's your Magic been going lately? Hopefully better than mine has, because yikes. Alright, we'll be on the play this time. So, this is a hand I know a lot of people would probably keep, but I actually don't think of Brainstorm and a one-lander as that good of a hand, for the simple fact that if you get Brainstorm locked, you're literally not doing anything for turns. So, while this hand's close, I think this is a mulligan. Yeah, like this hand's much better. Preparing for Eternal Weekend. Is Rug going to be your deck of choice for that weekend? I don't think I'm going to be making it to Eternal Weekend this year, unfortunately, but it is definitely a tournament that is on my agenda. And one I've been saying for years that I've been wanting to go to, but always seem to forget or just have way too much going on around it. 4-color Delver. I think 4-color Delver is a really good choice. It's a little too 50-50 for me, where, like, hey, what's up, Skull? Glad to see you, man. Looks like we're in the Delver mirror. We're going to attempt to daze this. Dazes eventually lose a lot of power. Notably, they have an island, so it's probably either Grixis or blue-red Delver. Most likely blue-red. But, yeah, as I was saying about 4-color Delver, the deck's, like, extremely powerful. And, like, nobody can deny that. But, like, all of its matchups just, like, seems, like, I played with it on a team event. One of my friends played it. And there was never a match where he, like, seemed like, yes, I'm so excited. Like, this is the matchup I've wanted all day. And I don't know why, but that just really bugs me with the deck. Can't be as rusty as me. I lost the last round because I decided to wasteland and try to pick it up. Haven't played in many years. Yeah, Bolt Push Decay is, like, nutty. Oh, wow, not since New Phyrexia. Well, welcome, man. I'm glad to have you in chat. That's awesome to have someone, a veteran of sorts. I really hate using our force, like, all of our hand this early, but, like, my opponents just played, like, all high-impact cards. Delver, not super high impact, but you want to try to use your dazes when you can. Oh, hey, what's up, Maximus? The more Legacy I play, the more it becomes my favorite format. How do you like Rug? Well, I like Temur. I actually got into that debate. I think it might have been with you, actually, Magic. It was not with you, Magic. But, I like Rug a lot, which is actually interesting because when I first tried Rug, right when Deathrite ban happened, I got really annoyed with constantly buying cards every year. I couldn't justify the expense. Yeah, Magic is definitely not a cheap hobby, that's for sure. I have way too much money in between this and League of Legends. I have way too much money in my hobbies. But yeah, so when I was trying Rug originally, back when the Deathrite Shaman ban first happened, I wasn't a huge fan, but trying it again now with Wrenn and Six, the deck feels just so much more smooth, and I honestly like really enjoy it. This is my first time trying the NBC, aka No Bad Cards version, where you're not playing Goose, you're not playing Stifle. Ooh. Alright, well, our opponent has a true name, but we have 2 creatures and are ahead on life total. But, yeah, I really enjoyed it the last time that I tried it with that version. So I'm trying this version as recommended by a bunch of friends, and we'll see how I like it. So far, it's not bad. I probably should have won my first round if... Okay. It said waiting on opponent, so I got freaked out. I was like, do they have, like, Slaughter Pact or something? Like, who knows what they can have? Ooh, Wasteland. That's rude. Are you going to go after my green or my red source opponent? Depending on what they choose will depend on what I play. Chain Lightning Delver. Yeah, there's not really much we can do about that. NBC stands for No Bad Cards. So essentially this is just like a more mid-rangey version of your traditional Temur Delver. Where you have like you don't have Gooses, you don't have Stifles. You just have a lot of really good cards in your deck. I really liked Eldrazi for a while. It was actually my first Legacy deck I built was Eldrazi. I unfortunately ended up selling out of it after a little bit, but it's something I've considered picking back up eventually. But I never ended up doing yet. Who knows? There's plenty of time to maybe do it in the future. Does our opponent choose to attack, or are we just going to stare at each other for a little bit? And this is kind of what happens in the Delver mirrors. I know the basic. If I were to play again, what's new that I should be aware of? I know the basics. Ant Faden, hello Richie. Hope the day and games thus far have gone well. Yeah, I punted, but you know, mistakes happen, especially when I don't play Legacy as much as I used to, unfortunately. Our shop plays on Thursdays, but I stream for you guys on Thursdays, so I don't get to get out and play Legacy as much as I'd like to. So, you know, I gotta freshen up on the format from time to time also. As for new things you should be aware of, you should definitely be aware of the power of Wrenn and Six and Plague Engineer. Those cards are extremely powerful and extremely popular in Legacy right now. There's been a lot of depths decks that have picked up because of... Our opponent chose not to shuffle. Uh-oh. Because of the... we can just bolt that. Because of the Elvish Reclaimer that came out in M20. So those are kind of the basic rundowns, I think, for, you know, what's new and what's happening in Legacy. We're gonna bolt this Arcanist. Again, we're just, you know, we're staying pretty even so far. We did draw a fetch land. Okay, we're gonna attempt to brainstorm. Okay. This is interesting, because I want to ponder, but I also just, like, want all of these cards. So I think what we're actually going to do is we're going to top both ponders, play the Flooded Strand, and then pass the turn. Just kind of still staring at our opponent, but we have Spell Snare up if we're going to need it, and then we have double ponder for future turns to try to help set us up. Yeah, Wrenn and Six has pushed a lot of D&T out. I was actually super surprised. If you guys check out our podcast, this week Josh and I actually talked about like the shakeups in the Modern and Legacy metagames recently. And I was really surprised to see how low down Death and Taxes has fallen. Our opponent chose to shuffle their library this time, so that's good for us. And the turn comes back to us. Okay. So here we're going to go ahead and cast this Ponder now. Ponder Arcanist. Yeah, I think I'm in for that. I think we're going to stack it where we draw the Ponder, put the Arcanist on top, and then we just pass back to our opponent with the plan to Arcanist next turn. We still have Spell Pierce up. Our Arcanist can always grab a Lightning Bolt and just bolt our opponent. Although we could just cast another Ponder here. We're not really in a super quick time to play this Arcanist, and I kind of want to try to find another land. So I think I'm into Ponder again. Ooh, Wrenn and Six. That's a good one right now. So let's... Let's draw the Spell Pierce. Put the Wrenn on top to play next turn. And then we can start getting our lands back. This is really the big thing with Temur right now. Is Wrenn and Six just is so powerful in like every matchup. That card's power level is just so insane. So we're gonna go ahead and fetch here. Blue-red doesn't typically play Stifle, so I don't think it's worth playing around. We'll grab a Trop and then we'll attempt to play Wrenn and Six. Oh, not with a blue. Maybe we were supposed to bait with the Arcanist. Alright. Back to you, opponent. Opponent passes back to us. Yeah, I think we were maybe supposed to bait with the Arcanist last turn as opposed to the Wrenn and Six. Well, it wasn't really trying to bait. It was just more or less not expecting a counterspell there, which I think was probably incorrect. Here, I think our opponent's going to hardcast Force, and then we get to Spell Pierce it. Yep. That's exactly what's happening. We're going to grab a second Trop, I think. Then cast this Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce is so good in Legacy. I could almost see putting the... I have a Force of Negation main over where I typically have the second Spell Pierce. I could see just putting that in the sideboard somehow. Maybe over like the Bajuka Bog. Oh wow. Our opponent had another Force of Will, Force of Negation. So yeah, I mean, all that happens. But now we're both pretty much in top deck modes again. They do have 2 more lands than us, but we have a Spell Snare in hand. Okay, you got a Delver, opponent. Okay, Day's not the best top deck here. So we're just going to have to pass again, unfortunately. Unfortunately, our opponent drew better than us on this turn. They flipped the Delver to a Daze, which we'll definitely want to keep in mind. And we go ahead and take 3 here. Not much we can do about it. And we draw a Wasteland. I don't think Wastelanding them does... it takes them off Hardcast Force, actually. So I think we're going to play Wasteland for now and pass it back to them. We just can't attack because of this True Name. Again, True Name is like such a big deal in Delver Mirrors. As you see, it's just like stonewalling us, and when he's ready to turn the corner, he can just start attacking with it. Yikes, another Delver. Alright, well, we're going to just go ahead and Wasteland him here. Again, I don't want them to be able to hardcast Force of Will anymore against us. Okay. Alright, not bad. Another Delver of our own. Or a Delver of our own, not another Delver. If they flip, though, they're definitely ahead on this race. So, hopefully they don't flip. Okay. They did not flip. That's good. Ooh, well, we're gonna go ahead and say no to that opponent. Okay, we go down to 7 here. Hopefully the dream is flipping our Delver to Lightning Bolt here. That's what we're really hoping for. Flooded Strand does not flip our Delver. So we're actually dead if our opponent flips their Delver here. Which, you know, it's kind of the problem, in my opinion, with Force of Will and Daze in the Delver matches. Yep. It really put us down on cards in the end. So, okay. So, against the Delver Mirror. Hydroblast is really good. I really like Vapor Snag, even though I know a lot of people don't. I'm a little less into it in the blue-red matchup. Surgical doesn't do anything. We don't really want Crop Rot in this matchup. The Bog and the Karakas don't seem very good here. On the play, I like Daze. On the draw, I'm not a Daze fan. Grudge doesn't seem very strong. Null Rod is very medium. And I don't really like our Force of Will effects. Controls a forest and you control an island. So Submerge actually doesn't do anything. Rough and Tumble, if they're playing Young Pyromancer, is really good. If not, it's like very medium. Narset's really good in the Delver Mirror. Especially if you can protect it. I'm trying to decide if we want to bring in any forces over, like, maybe the Rough and Tumble or potentially a Lightning Bolt just to protect against True Name. What does everyone in chat think? Well, you guys go ahead and give your opinions. I'm going to let you guys know that if you give us a follow, you will automatically be entered into our monthly giveaways, which right now we don't know what we're giving away this month, but we will definitely be doing one. On top of that, if you give us a follow, or not a follow, a subscribe on Twitch or a donation to our Patreon, you will earn extra entries into our giveaway. But anyone who follows our Twitch will automatically get an entry. So, I know my friend Luke told me with Rug that you're never supposed to cut all your forces, that you just kind of trim a lot. But I'm not sure what force is better than right now. Like, I think Daze is better than Force on the play. I don't really think we want to trim a land. Yeah, Luke plays a lot of Temur, and he's really good at it. I think we're gonna try it like this, but I'm not 100% sold on this. I don't like the Wasteland hand against the Delver deck with basics, so I think we're gonna go ahead and ship this. Brainstorm can fix a lot of sins. I don't know if Brainstorm can fix this one. So chat, do we go to 5 or do we trust our Brainstorm here? I really don't know if I want to go to 5 in the Delver Mirror. But like, if we whiff off this Brainstorm, we're in a bit of trouble. I know I said that these hands are traps. Yeah, I think it's risky, but I think I'm going to give it a try. I hate mulliganing to 5 in the Delver mirror. You liked the first hand? What with the first hand did you like? Like, I think it was fine, but I don't know, like Wasteland just isn't at its best in this matchup. Alright, we're gonna try to brainstorm to hit our land drop. We did, but that land is like ugh. Not a land in this matchup. Alright, we'll do this because it doesn't actually matter. Hopefully I stacked it right. Okay, yeah, I was pretty sure I did. Yeah, going to 5 seems rough. I mean, I didn't like it, but double fetch plus brainstorm seemed like it could fix it up. Yeah, it's possible, like, I should have just trusted brainstorm more in that hand. Bolt's pretty good, especially early game against blue-red because of Arcanist and Delver. So I could have definitely seen that 7 being a keep. But with London, I feel like going down 1 card isn't... It doesn't hurt as much as it used to. Is this a lightning bolt from our opponent? Sure. And then a Delver from them, I assume. Yep. I think this Wasteland means more to us than it does them. Because it lets us pay for days. Yeah, that's kind of where my head was at. Was mulliganing once hurts a lot less than... I'm going to let this happen just because if my opponent plays a true name, I really need to counter it. I think we can take 1 hit for 3 anyways. Yikes. And we'll get rid of that Delver. The Arcanist is definitely going to be a problem for us. Okay. That might help us out. And our opponent did miss their land drop, so... I think we're going to go ahead and play Tarmogoyf. And then since they missed the land drop, I'm going to definitely Wasteland them. Unless they daze this. If they daze, I'm fine paying the 1 with Wasteland. Cool. Get that Volk out of here. Next turn we can play Wrenn. Pick back up Wasteland. Well, no, actually we can't play Wrenn unless we draw land now. Maybe that was an oversight. That might have been really aggressive on my end to Wasteland there. Yeah, the green source was huge. We really needed it. If our opponent is brainstorm locked now... Making them days is actually like totally okay for us. Do they choose the brainstorm to try to find a land, or do they, with one card, or do they choose the bolt? If they bolt, we don't really get to block. But they have to point the bolt at the Goyf, which essentially gained us 2 life. Nope, they're going for the brainstorm. So I'm gonna un-F6 here to make sure it doesn't skip through my blockers. But I'm gonna definitely let them brainstorm, as we don't really have a control over that. Alright, our opponent resolves brainstorm. And we block the Dreadhorde. Then we'll F6 again. Did they find the land? They did. So that's pretty good for our opponent. We draw another Wrenn and Six. So in this case, I'm totally cool just baiting with Wrenn and Six, because it grows our Tarmogoyf anyways. Why Goyf over Wrenn? I would have played Wrenn first to start occurring value, but I'm not super familiar with Legacy, so I could be wrong here. If I just play the Wrenn, it dies to the Arcanist plus Lightning Bolt. That's the reason why I didn't just play a Wrenn. They force pitching force? So they still have that daze potentially. And we'll attack for 4. Our opponent fetches here. Grabs yet another volcanic island. So if we ever stick one of these Wrens, we're going to be in business with the wasteland. Did our opponent find yet another land? They did not. They found a Delverino. Ooh, we found a land, though. Alright, so let's try to play a Wrenn and Six here. Wow, they had another Force of Will. Okay, opponent. We will attack you for 5. So we're definitely ahead on the race right now. And our opponent's pretty low on resources compared to us. Because of Force of Will, as you're seeing. Although I will be bringing in a lot of, I will be bringing it back in the forces on the play. If this is a true name, we might be in trouble. Yep, good old true name that probably should be banned in Legacy. Luckily we have this other Goyf, so we can eventually attack through the true name. Although I think yet again we're going to try to stick this Wrenn and Six. With one card in hand, it definitely is going to resolve. Then we can go ahead and kill this Delver, I think. Yeah. So we kill Delver here. We'll fetch with Misty. We'll grab another Volk because of Lightning Bolt. And then cast Ponder. Pierce Delver Wasteland. Yeah, I'm in for all of this. Pass it back to you, opponent. So now you have the choice of either killing my Wrenn and Six or leaving your true name back. Is this another true name? Wow. Okay, that's pretty unfortunate. wow. They had double true name. Yeah, this is like... I love Legacy and I love Delver, but the Delver mirrors are fucking abysmal. My opponent said LOL in chat, so I just told him what's it like. They're not being jerks about it. They like wished me luck at the, or wished me luck and had fun at the beginning of the game, or to have fun at the beginning of the game. Gosh. Double fucking true name and a wasteland. I guess this is what I get for punting round 1. Alright. So we're going to wasteland them off one of their sources so they can't play like a third true name. Because knowing my luck, that's going to be what's on top of their deck. And then we're going to play this Delver to flip, which is going to win us the race currently because our opponent can't attack with more than one true name. I love Delver mirrors. Yep, I'll take 3. So my opponent has drawn the best possible pretty much every turn. My opponent, I asked them what it's like, and they're like, to have 2 true names against Rug? Cool. I'm like, yeah, bet. Any Delver deck, except for maybe Grixis. Because, like, Grixis is... I guess White has, or Jeskai Delver, or Blue-White Delver has, Council's Judgment. My opponent agreed with me about Delver mirrors. They said that they're 250-50. And it literally is. It's literally just a top deck battle. It's also really big to mulligan in the Delver mirror. Yeah, like, it's game state, like, a lot of people who, like, don't play or don't play a lot of Legacy, like, a lot of, like, fair, like, Legacy decks, don't understand why I think True Name Nemesis really needs to be banned in this format. It's games like this where, like, literally no decision mattered except for my opponent got to stick a True Name Nemesis, and my opponent's going to win the game now. Just strictly based off the fact that they landed a True Name Nemesis. And, like, sure, I guess it's my fault for, you know, deciding I didn't want to play white or black. If you want, if, like, that's one way you can look at it. Yeah, dude. GG's. So we're starting out 0-2 here, which kind of sucks. Our first round I probably should have won, but I punted. That one, there's nothing you can do in the Delver mirrors. Like, sometimes your opponent draws the absolute nut against you. Like, I felt ahead most of that game, too. But then it just didn't matter when my opponent played True Name Nemesis. This hand is really good. We're going to keep. We have Delver with Daze. We have a Wrenn and Six. We have some cantrips to try to find our other colored source. And we might just be dead. So this is the other interesting thing with Legacy. There's a lot of turn 1 decks. But, like, that's just part of the format. I have turn 1 counter spells I can sometimes have. Yeah, we're dead. So essentially our opponent's playing Storm. So their Storm count's high enough now they're going to Infernal Tutor again and get Tendrils of Agony. That was a fun game. On to sideboarding against Storm. So I think this is where we want the Bajuka Bog. I think we don't have time for the Waterlogged either. Oh, I knew for sure I was dead when they Dark Ritual duressed me. I knew for sure I was dead. Hydroblast is good. I like all of our counter magic. Vapor Snag's not very good. Our bolts are okay at killing them. I don't like Chain Lightning because it's a sorcery. I like our crop rotation package for Bajuka Bog. Ancient Grudge and Null Rod are actually pretty solid. True Name is way too slow. Submerge doesn't do anything. Neither does Rough and Tumble. And we have 7 more cuts. I think the Artifact Hate might actually, like... I think the Ancient Grudges are a little too cute. The Null Rod, I think, can be really good. Then I think we can probably... maybe just take out all of our lightning bolts. And then trim on like a cantrip. What do you guys think about this? We have a lot of counter spells to try to disrupt them early. Maybe the Hydroblast is worse than the counter or the Preordain actually. Because Hydroblast only hits Past in Flames. And they're probably not going for it unless they know they're safe. Yeah, Norrod turns off LED, which is kind of why I want it. Yes, we just got turned 1, but that's not like the common thing from that deck. Typically, it's like turn 2 or 3 if you have literally no disruption. And we have a lot of disruption for Storm. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and try it like this for game 2. I would like to be on the play. And yeah, this hand is fine. The Bog's kind of awkward in the hand. It turns off a lot of our crop rots. But an early Bog is still okay. And we can keep bogging them with Wrenn and Six if we get a wasteland. Well, no, we don't really want a 2-for-1 ourselves, actually. But if we have to, we can. Our opponent mulligan to 6. We are just going to go with a fetch land and pass. So we have Daze this time to try to protect us. We also just have Surgical Extraction for if they, try to go off turn 1 again, we'll just Surgical their Dark Writs. I'll probably let a cantrip resolve here. Normally you want to Daze their cantrips, but I really want to stick a threat. in either the Arcanist or the Wrenn and Six first. Probably the Wrenn and Six. Ooh, or in Tarmogoyf. Yeah. I think I actually want to stick Tarmogoyf, as it's the one that applies the most pressure right away. Grab a Trop. Grab a Volk. Play a Goyf. And then pass it on to our opponent. Opponent fetches. Cast another Preordain. Yeah, exactly. So now this one we're actually going to Daze, because Daze does start to lose value as the game goes on. And you want to try to stumble Storm early. Alright, back to us. We're going to play our Volk here. I think we're going to just play Wrenn and Six. Does minusing Wrenn 3 times change our clock at all? So, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. I actually think we have enough land drops, and I think we just want to start pinging our opponent. I know that probably seems really weird, but it gives us a faster kill. Man, that Thoughtseize is awkward. Hopefully we're not just dead.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I should have seen how my opponent pondered. Or I guess no, never mind. I'm dumb. We're going to go ahead and surgical their ponders here. That means they're going to get to take our Dread Horde. Cabalrit, Duress, LED. Alright. So what do they have in their deck? So they're going to take our Arcanist. They have the empty. And then they're digging for like an Infernal Tutor or something along those lines. Actually, the Thoughtseize alone speeds up our clock, thinking about it, because it puts them down to 12. And Gruar Goyf, actually. So they have Sorcery, which we don't. So we want to attack before bogging. So hit them for 4. Put you down to 7. Then 6. Yeah, we're going to bog just to be safe. It's very unlikely that those spells end up mattering for them, but I think bogging is a safer call. Alright, back to us. Delverino. 5, 4. So it gives them less life to work with if they have to add or Tess. It actually gives them no life if they have to add Nauseam. Yeah, I was trying to decide if that was better than getting a land back here, but I think it still is. This puts our opponent down to 2. We'll play Delver and pass. And okay, we get that game with the help of a lot of sideboard cards, and also our opponent's hand just not quite working out, which is kind of a thing that happens with Storm. Sometimes your hand just doesn't line up correctly with what you wanted it to. And, you know, the Goyf was clocking them. The Wrenn pings was also, like, adding up. I think we just run this back for game 3. I don't think we want anything else. I really like the crop. I honestly kind of like the crop rotation package in this deck. It seems like it adds a lot to the sideboard. Just having that Bog and Crocus there. Yep, we're just going to go ahead and try this. I don't think we want the Rough and Tumble for empty, although it is possible. Yeah. Sand's definitely a keep. A lot of good early disruption along with a bunch of cheap threats. Our opponent mulligans. Oh, yep, they mulliganed and then played land, got it. Back to us, we draw a Ponder. We're just going to go ahead and play Delver on one here. Again, it's important to start pressuring your Storm opponent. Sure. You have a Brainstorm. Next turn we can either play Goyf or Ponder. Well, now we just get to Ponder next turn, which is totally fine. Does Delver flip? Delver does not flip. So we're going to go to combat, hit him for 1. I think we're just going to go ahead and play another Delver. Because if we can flip these, that's a 3-turn clock. Oh, thank you, A50, for the follow. Yeah, it doesn't pop up on my screen, which is really, really stinky. So it's hard for me to know when it does happen. We will not flip our Delvers to Wrenn and Six, unfortunately. So we're going to play our land, attack for 2. Thank you for keeping an eye out, Ant Faden. Super appreciate it, man. And here, what's the best way to get our clock going? 3, 6, 9. But pondering is a guarantee. 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 12, 18. I think we actually want to ponder here now and try to set up the flip, which none of this does. Shuffle my library, yes. Alright. A land was not quite what we wanted. We're going to go ahead and try to ponder again. Jeez. Our ponders have been awful. Okay. There's another blue card at least. Yeah, that was what, like 5 lands in our ponders? That's no bueno. Come on, Delvers. Yeah, Delver. Woo! Good job, buddies. Proud of you little guys. Flipping for joy over here. Go ahead and 6 our opponent here. Does our opponent have, like, Echoing Truth? Abrupt Decay. Sure. Can't do much about that one. Rogue Goblin. This is like every Sunday for me. A hop gets like everything they need. This game's pretty close actually. The last one was not close though. So what's our best clock here? 8, 16, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. I think it's playing Goyf and holding up Spell Pierce. Well, if Spell Pierce force up. That is the thing I really like about Tarmogoyf, is it does give you a really nice clock. Our opponent's in the tank. Might be thinking about trying to go off here. Trying to decide if it's the time or not. The ad nauseum kill does get pretty unlikely if we hit our opponent again. Because their life total is definitely a resource in that kill. I expect we're going to be sitting here for a minute while our opponent tries to figure out if they can storm off or not. So anyone got any questions, comments, anybody in chat, just hit me up while our opponent's trying to figure out if they can kill us here. Love to talk. Thank you again, A50, for the follow. You will be entered into this month's giveaway because of that follow. Anyone else watching that is not a follower, make sure you follow to get entered into our monthly giveaways. Any follower gets an automatic entry into our giveaways, and anyone that subscribes or donates to our Patreon gets extra entries into our giveaway. You can even subscribe for free if you have Amazon Prime. They give you a free subscribe. Okay. Our opponent, it appears, decides that they are not going to go for it. When we draw Pyroblast. So we're going to attack our opponent for 8. Our opponent takes it. And we have this fetch land in the yard. So playing Wrenn and Six is pretty free here. We just plus to get our land back. While we wait, how has Modern been for you since Stoneforge Mystic unban? Any thoughts since the format has had some time to pan out a little bit? Yeah, so I think we still have a long ways to go before we see, where the format actually lands in health. But so far, I've been really happy with how Modern has been. We're going to go ahead and Force of Negation that. But yeah, I've been pretty happy with where Modern has been and where I think it's going to be moving forward. Yeah, this should just about call it quits for our opponent. But yeah, I'm really happy with Modern. I've been having a lot of fun playing the format. It feels a lot more fair, a lot more slower. I said it back during when the BNR happened. I expected, Hardened Scales or some type of Affinity and Burn to probably be the best aggro decks. We've even seen Humans dropping down as it has a harder time against the fair decks than, Burn or Affinity decks. So anytime that those two are like your big aggro decks, I think that's a great sign for a format. And, we have combo decks. We have Urza. We have Tron, which is a combo control deck. Scape Shift is coming back. Scape Shift is a pretty fair deck in the terms of things, even though it seems kind of hard to interact with. And, your control decks, you have multiple, I always have been clamoring for a Splinter Twin unban, and I still think it might be fine, But I will say the unbanning of Stoneforge has done what Wizards talked about finally when they banned Twin, which is it opened up more blue decks. You know, I've seen Grixis to combat the Stoneforge decks. I've seen Blue-White Stoneblade. I've seen Blue-White Control. I've seen Jeskai Stoneblade. I've seen Esper Stoneblade. So I really think, like, the format's in a super healthy spot, and I'm hoping to see it stay like this. The only thing I think that's kind of on a downtick that a lot of people might not like is the tribal decks are kind of weaker than where they used to be because of a lot of Wrenn and Six play out of, like, Jund, or, like, the Felidar Guardian decks are even playing Wrenn and Six now. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Maybe the tribal decks will eventually need a little bit of a boost, but, you know, they normally get things in every set. So we'll have to keep an eye out. But yeah, so we managed to pull that game off against Storm. Delver decks do typically have a decent Storm matchup, as, you know, you have a lot of permission and, like, your forces, your dazes, and your extra counter spells here and there. An early Plague Engineer can also be lights out for humans, and yeah, Stoneforge Mystic opens diversity. Exactly. I think the unban was great. It even opens up, like, multiple ways to play Death and Taxes. Like, do you play Leonin Arbiter? Do you play Stoneforge? Do you play both and sometimes just say, well, shit, my deck kind of decided to draw both halves when I only want my deck to draw one half. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I don't think Modern is a settled format yet by any means, and I'm excited to see where Modern keeps going. But let's see where Legacy keeps going as we enter our fourth game. This hand's kind of close, but the fact that we have 1-drop into 2-drop, and we have a Force of Negation if we're ever going to need it, I think inclines me to keep. I'm not super huge on this hand, but a powerful 1 into a powerful 2 is always hard to mulligan. So we're just going to go Volcanic Island, Delver, and then pass the turn. What do you got for us, opponent? Reanimator? That's definitely Reanimator. Yikes. Well, chat, I think we're gonna die. We really needed to flip our Delver to a blue card there. Maybe we get... Wait. 7-14. Nope. Pinging doesn't matter. Get a land back. Hiya. I assume we're dead. And by dead, I assume we're dead. Yeah, the land was pretty unfortunate. But we're just gonna scoop her up here. That was fun, right, chat? Right? So I think this is a matchup where Wasteland is a little lackluster. Even though they're light on lands, they can play and work off basics pretty well. Hydroblast I actually like in this matchup because it counters Faithless Looting. And you really want to try to counter their enablers more than anything. Our Pyroblast and Red Blast doesn't seem very good. Norrod does not seem great here. Ancient Grudge doesn't seem very great. True Name's not very good. I like Narset, because if we can stick it, they can't really go off with Gristlebrand. Submerge doesn't do anything, and neither does Rough and Tumble. So now we're to 4 cuts. I think this is definitely a Chain Lightning matchup, or a Chain Lightning out matchup. Do we want any Lightning Bolts for that matter? I could very well just see, like, taking out all of our Lightning Bolts and maybe bringing in, like, a Wasteland or potentially our Waterlogged Grove to have an extra green source. I could also see just leaving in like the Miser Lightning Bolt. Or I could see it correct to trim like 2 bolts and maybe a Tarmogoyf or maybe a Wrenn and Six. What's everyone's thoughts? I have not been drinking my water enough, by the way. Good old hydration. So yeah, I think the options are some number of these. Probably not. You may be able to catch them is if they're cheeky and go a little deep with Gristlebrand, but seems unlikely they open themselves to that with Bolt, that is. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think we'll leave 2 bolts in because Wrenn and Six is kind of meh in this matchup anyways. And I think it's a matchup where you don't want 2 Wrenn and Sixes, but the 1 is fine. And like you said, sometimes you can maybe catch your opponent with Bolt. But I think we want Goyf just because Goyf clocks. And I think everything else is pretty good. So yeah, we'll try it like this. Alright, well, we have the Crop Rot, so we're going to go ahead and keep. We have the Goyf also. The question is, chat, do we Crop Rot for Bojuka Bog or Caracas? Or does it depend? Our opponent mulligans down to 6. And now is thinking about their 6. They decide to keep their 6. So we're going to go ahead and play a Polluted Delta and pass. Can depend, but Caracas is most likely. I can see that. Alright, with our opponent not doing anything, we just kind of want to get a little aggressive here. Not too aggressive, but just, you know, fetch a Volk and send it up, or fetch a Volk and send this Bolt upstairs. Delver is a really good draw here. So we're going to go ahead and play Scolding Tarn and then play our Delver. Our opponent doesn't actually know that we have green mana in our deck. Keep that in mind. Okay. I think because of this, we have to go get Caracas. So we're going to crop rotate our Volk into a Caracas here. Then we 6 it. Alright, do you flip Delver? Misty Rainforest does not flip. Man, we went up to 19 lands, and we've been really good at drawing lands. Common tech for Temur. I play Reanimator when I play Legacy, which is rare. But this wasn't something. Yeah, the crop rotation is actually something really brand new. It actually came about a week ago, to be honest. Because Temur was having a hard time with Reanimator and the Hogak style, or with Reanimator, Depths, and Hogak style decks. So they started to play 1 to 2 crop rotations in the 75 and then 1 to 2 utility lands to get with crop rotation. Our opponent does not know that we have this Misty, notably. So they might cast a discard spell here. Now they know we don't have anything. What do they get with Entomb? They do have plenty of non-legendary targets. But we were kind of forced into getting the Caracas. Yep, they go for Ashen Rider, which makes a ton of sense. It's going to be pretty hard for us to beat it unless we draw our Vapor Snag. Yeah. So do they blow up the Caracas? Most likely they blow up the Caracas. Oh, they choose our Delver. Interesting. Well, right on time. Right on time. Yeah, I think we just pass. Hold these lands in case we draw Brainstorm. Take 4 here. That's cute. Our opponent reanimated our Tarmogoyf. Oh my gosh. This is unreal, the amount of lands we've been drawing. Go, I guess. Yeah, like, the Cracases can be irrelevant, but, like, sometimes they can be a getcha with the crop rotation. We've kind of floated out, and you mentioned, Sire of Insanity. A lot of the Reanimator lists that I know of have, recently cut, or have been cutting Sire of Insanity for a long time now. So we'll get Vulcan. We'll be dead, I guess, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of our cards were lands, and we drew 3 spells. Well, what a way to end the league. So we 1-3'd with this list. I definitely, after that game, really don't feel like playing the last game out. That was pretty rough. Thoughts on the deck? I need more. I guess I need more testing. I honestly liked the crop rotation package. It felt pretty nice. We never got to see it in game 1 where we go and get the Waterlogged Grove with Wrenn and Six. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I punted round 1. Round 2 was the Delver Mirror, and there was nothing we could really do. Round 3 we beat Storm, which I think is a favorable matchup, and round 4 we just got Reanimated. Like, that's kind of Legacy in a nutshell almost. The 2 biggest decks right now are Delver and Reanimator. And the thing about Reanimator and even Storm, like, you've seen it in game 1. Like, sometimes they just do your thing, and if you don't have the right answer, you die. And sometimes even if you have that answer, you die to discard spells. But, you know, it's just kind of a thing with the format. It's a thing you learn to accept, and something you really can't get super upset about. What did I play against round 1? I played against green-black Hogak Depths. But they either boarded in Hogak, or they boarded out Stitcher's Supplier, or they just don't play Stitcher's Supplier. I'm not sure which of the 3 it is, but they did not have Stitcher's Supplier when we surgicaled their Dark Depths in game 2. Which I should have won that matchup, but I wastelanded them and went to get it back, and then they made a 20/20 in response. And we missed on any answer off of Brainstorm. Like, we could have hit Crop Rot, Vapor Snag, Submerge. We could have still potentially won that game. But, like, it was definitely a mistake, and I kind of deserved to lose it. Yeah, Reanimators really gained a ton off the London Mulligan. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the London Mulligan's good for everyone. Like, I probably wouldn't have mulliganed that 7. Well, no, I probably still would have mulliganed that 7 in the Delvermere. But, like, the London Mulligan is ways for me to find my Force of Wills or my Force of Negation more now when I need it. It's ways to, you know, fix my hands when I mulligan to not having lands. I think the London Mulligan, it is obviously better for decks like Reanimator or Tron in Modern. But I think it is also fine enough for the fair decks that it, even if it doesn't 100% off balance, I think it's pretty close. But yeah, so back to this deck. I think this deck's fine. I don't know if I like it more than Nimble Mongoose version, the aggressive version. I have to play and test more. I can say that the crop rotation package is pretty solid, and even if you play the Mongoose version where you don't play the Waterlogged Grove and you only play like 2 Wrens, you probably want to play at least the crop rotations in the sideboard, 1 or 2. The main deck, if I were to play NBC Temur Delver, I would probably run back. The sideboard, I'm not happy with the Submerge. Stifle helps in the... Yeah, Stifle is just a really good card. That the strategy might just be missing in general, but I don't think you can really play in this version because you can't abuse Stifle like that deck can because you can't kill your opponent as fast. But yeah, the Submerge, again, I mentioned it at the beginning. I really didn't want it because the Vapor Snag's kind of that Submerge spot, but I'm not sure what I'd play over it. It might just be fine. Maybe it should be like a second Vapor Snag. The Reanimator matchup felt kind of tough, so maybe you make it like the Cage and you just play like 3 actual Graveyard Hate cards, and then you play your crop rotation package. Let's actually, since I ended kind of early, or I'm going to be ending kind of early because we kind of got trounced on. Let's actually go to MTG Goldfish, and let's open up some, they call it 4-color Delver, but it's the deck that I'm playing right now. Let's take a peek at some lists and see. It's typically a Fiery Islet, but the reason we're playing Waterlogged Grove is because of the crop rotation in the main. You'll actually see it in one of the lists. Submerge is good in the Temur Mirrors. It's good against the Depths decks. It's good against, what's the deck? Allurin. It's good against decks like Elves. There's a lot of situations where it's, like, good, but it's never amazing, to be honest. It could honestly be a second Force of Negation. I wouldn't be opposed to having a second Force in the sideboard. Let's check out a couple other lists while we're brainstorming. Oh, I could see it being a Cindervines, actually. I think Cindervines might be what I'd play in that last slot. It's just a nice answer to... There aren't many enchantments in Legacy, but there are a decent amount of artifacts, and it also gets, like, it's a small amount of extra storm hate. I think Cindervines might be... Yeah, I don't know that it's great, but I think it might be the next, like, best thing. We didn't really get to see the Narset, which stunk. She was super good for me in blue-red. You have the option of either, like, Narset, Jace the Mind Sculptor, or Sylvan Library. I think 4 mana for Jace is just a little too much. But I can see it being between... I could also see playing this Return to Nature card, as it destroys artifacts, destroys enchantments, or exiles a card from a graveyard. So it, like... slices, dices, does a little bit of everything. I could also see maybe playing like a Flusterstorm in the sideboard. Although, if I'm being completely honest, I'd probably play a Spell Pierce. I haven't really missed Flusterstorm, which is weird to say. I could do a Scavenging Ooze. Maybe I'd play a Scooze. Hex Drinker is interesting in this list. Yeah, so you either play Hex Drinker or you play Dreadhorde. I personally am not super big on Hex Drinker. I don't like that it's just a vanilla 2-1 essentially that you have to pump mana into. Yeah, I think it's either Cinder Vines or Scavenging. Actually, I'd probably put the Winter Orb back in. We didn't like face any miracles, but that's like a deck you always kind of have to have on your radar. Yeah, I think what I would do. I didn't realize they were cutting Arcanist for it. Yeah, it's either Hex Drinker or Arcanist is the decision. So yeah, I think the three options for the last sideboard card are either Winter Orb, if you're expecting more controlling decks like the 4-color decks, or Miracles. A Scavenging Ooze if you're expecting like more graveyard decks, and a Cinder Vines if you're expecting enchantment / storm. I think that's the three options, or potentially this Return to Nature. But I think it might just be worse than playing like a Scavenging Ooze. So yeah, those are the options. I'd probably go with the Winter Orb first, but depending on how bad the Reanimator matchup and the Storm matchup feels, I'd have to play them more to find out. Those are my suggestions for the last three sideboard cards. But before we go, as per usual, I want to hop back over to momsbasementgames.tcgplayerpro.com and tell you guys to come here to buy your Magic cards. If you need any Snowlands for Legacy or Modern, 1 second. I'm going to message Kenta, that way I can get him his Wrenn and Sixes back. Okay. Message is sent to Kenta. So as I was saying, if you need to get anything, Mom's Basement Games is the best place for it. If you're watching on YouTube in the future, you know, it was a Legacy League. There was some punts, there was some degeneracy, there was some 50-50 top deck battles. You win some, you lose some. Yeah, Scooz is really strong against Reanimator and helps with depths as well. It helps with the Hogak side of depths. I don't think it does that much against just like the Merit Lage 2020. Maybe I'm wrong, though. But yeah, so anyone watching on YouTube in the future, sorry for those pauses. I'm messaging the person that loaned me Wrenn and Sixes and trying to get them back to him. Come check us out on Twitch at some point. Watch us live. Interact with us. As well as everyone live on Twitch right now, still dealing with me messaging people and also talking to people on YouTube. You guys should all, YouTube or Twitch, check us out on Facebook. Give us a like. Follow us on Twitter at MomsBasementMTG. And for all you guys watching on Twitch right now, thank you again for interacting with me. I super appreciate it. I would also appreciate it if you checked out our YouTube channel for the best Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, and Pauper content. On top of that, I would super appreciate it if everyone gave me a follow on Twitter. My Twitter is at RichardTMTG. I talk Magic, League of Legends, TFT memes, anything else you want to talk to me about, hit me up on there. There'll also be some stuff about me starting up my own streaming soon, so keep an eye out for that. GG's Richie, have a great night. Catch you later. Catch you later, Aunt Faden. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me on the stream all day. I appreciate it. On top of that, give at Kentaro Hikori. Sorry that I just butchered that, Kenta. At Kentaro Hikori, a follow on Twitter, as he was the person that loaned me Wrenn and Sixes and let me make this content for you. If you're looking for other forms of social media to follow the Basement Crew and I on, you can find us at Mom's... I can talk, I promise. At Mom's Basement Games on Instagram, and you can find me on Instagram at RichieT2196. Have a good one, Maximus. Glad you were able to stop in at some point. I'm not sure how long you've been in here, but I appreciate seeing you nonetheless. And I appreciated all of you hanging out with me on stream. So, to all of you, have a great night.